This is Jenny Kunkel, and in this video we're going to take a look at the merge statement. This is a very powerful statement. We are essentially going to be merging into a target table from a source table. So at some point we have something in a source table that's set up that we want to either update or insert or delete, and we're going to use those matched conditions, and that join condition that it's talking about there is really a match condition. What field or fields are we matching on? We're not necessarily joining those two tables, but we're matching on it, and where we have a match in both tables, then we can do something. And we can check some of the different search conditions, because if we have only a couple fields that are potentially being updated, we can check to see if the change in both of the tables are the same. If they're the same, then we don't necessarily want to update it. But if they are different, then we want to go ahead and update it. If we have a situation where something is not matching by the target table, then it might be something where we have a new record in the source table and we want to add it to that target table, or we might have something that's not in the source table and we want to remove it from our target table. And those DML statements, so DML stands for data manipulation language, those are our insert, update, and delete statements. The insert statement is going to look pretty much the same, but when we get to doing something with the update and the delete, it's going to look a little bit different than what we're accustomed to. Let's go ahead and let's switch over to SQL Server Management Studio. I have an example that we can take a look at, and then we can talk through as we're creating our example how this would be different in Oracle. Now, if I switch to SQL Server Management Studio, we're still using Northwinds. And I have this products copy table. So this is just essentially a copy of the existing products table, because I don't want to necessarily mess things up there. And it has all the data that the products table does. It has all the foreign key references, etc. And then I went ahead and I just did a select into my products updates table. So this is where I have data that I've manipulated some of the values to simulate that a company has gone through, they've been doing some work on their pricing catalog and determining that some of the unit prices need to change, and those are recorded in the dbo.product updates. There are some of the quantities for the units in stock and the units on order that need to change based off of cycle counts that have been performed with respect to the inventory. So this is going to be the place that has all of these types of changes with some additional products that they've taken out of service, and then some that they've added to their catalog as well, with parts on order but not necessarily in stock. And that's going to be the premise for us as we start this practice. We want to take those product updates and we want to go ahead and apply them to the products copy table, so that we have a resulting updated version of everything that needs to be applied. So let's go ahead and get started. The very first thing that we typically want to do is we want to begin our transaction. So if I come in, and this is going to be so that I can roll back something if I need to. So we're going to begin the transaction. And then of course we're going to have the rollback down below that we can use as well. Now, when we start, we are going to be using our merge statement, and we are going to merge into the dbo.products copy. This is the copy that has the same structure as the products as indicated, and I'm going to give it an alias of target to make it a little easier to reference. Now, of course, if I was using this in Oracle, when we are using table names such as this, we would not be using the as keyword. We would just be putting dbo.products copy if this was the table name over in Oracle, and then it would just have target after that as the alias without the as keyword. Then using statement is going to be our source table, and this is going to be the dbo.product updates. This is where all of those updates have been applied that we need to apply to our product's copy table, and this is going to be the source table. Now that I have my target and my source specified, I need to indicate what is my matching condition. And I have my primary key of product ID, which makes really nice sense to use for this match purpose. And this is just going to be the target.product ID is equal to the source.product ID. The next thing I need to do is I need to figure out what I'm going to do when they are matched. And in this case, I have my unit price, my units in stock, and my units on order that have been potentially updated, and I just want to apply those. Now, I could go through and I could do an additional check in addition to when they're matched, but I'm just going to keep it simple, and we're just going to do the update. And this is going to be when matched, then update and set. So this is a little bit different on how we're structuring this. And we're just going to specify the target.unit price is going to be set equal to the source.unit price. Then the target.units in stock is going to be set equal to the source.units in stock, and then the target.units on order is going to be equal to the source.units on order. Then we have our situation where things are not matching, and it's by the source that they're not matching because we have a record that is in our target table, but not in our source table. And in that case, we want to go ahead and delete the record from our target table so that it doesn't have that record in there anymore. So when not matched by source, then we're going to go ahead and just delete it. Now notice the delete looks a lot different. We don't have any table that we're referencing in either the update or the set, even the insert, but it looks a little bit more normal on the insert. And if we have an instance where we're not matching and it's not in the target table, but it is in the source table, we want to go ahead and add it. So this is when not matched by target, then we want to go ahead and add it. And this is where we would go through and do the insert, and we have quite a number of fields here. This is going to be the product ID, product name, the supplier ID, the category ID, the quantity per unit, the unit price, units in stock, units on order, reorder level, and then the discontinued. I'm going to go ahead and just basically copy these and then just put the source in front of all of these. So this is going to be the values, and we're going to essentially be using this, but we're going to prepend this with source dot. I'm just going to go ahead and do that to each one of these fields. And we're not done yet. Now, if I was Oracle, I would be done at this point. But with SQL Server, we can actually do an output and look at our values of our inserted table and our deleted table. So anytime we insert anything, we have information that gets stored in this temporary inserted table. We also have records that get stored in this temporary deleted table, and we can access those records. Now in Oracle, this is not available. We would have to potentially go through and put triggers for insert, update, and delete activity on the product updates table if this was an Oracle. And then once we're in a trigger, we have access to the fields that have been changed. If we have inserted values, we have the new values. If we have updated values, we have the new and old. And if we have the deleted, we have the old values. And we could go through and update a table and put those values, write it out to the table, and then do a select statement after we got through the merge statement to see the same type of results. But for SQL Server, they already have things already set up for us, and we can just use the inserted table and the deleted table and get some of the information out based off of what we're doing. So if I go ahead to the next line and do an output, I can ask what the action is. Then I can get the information from the inserted table, followed by the deleted table, put my ending semicolon in there, and I can try this. And I'm going to tell you right now it's going to fail, but we'll look at why it's failing. So if I do this, well, if I have to spell my names right first, so that would be a good thing. So let's change that to quantity per unit. And let's go ahead and try that again. And it should still fail. And the reason why it's failing is because we are doing an identity on our product ID field that's going to automatically assign a value when we insert a record. And in order to do this, we have to turn the identity insert on, and then we can copy the values from our products updates table when we're doing an insert over to our products copy table. And then after we do that, we are going to set the identity on that table off. Okay, so in order to do this, we would need to go in and do a set identity insert dbo.products copy, because this is the table that we're going to be updating. And this is going to be on, and then we're going to follow that up at the end with an off. So down below, we would go ahead and put the off in here just to make sure that we have it. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this. That's okay now. Now let's go ahead and try to rerun it. And notice now I'm getting output back, and I can see here what the action was. It inserted black pudding, it inserted spam, so those are new records in the table. So if we actually went through and did a select statement, we should see those values coming back. We also have some updates that happened, and we had some deletes. So we can see the delete activity. There's nothing in the new column, but we have the values over in the old. For the update, we can take a look at what was in the changes versus the old value and the new values that were inserted. So we can take a look at what those quantity changes were. So we can see here that it was $18.90. That's what it was updated to. And originally it was $18. So that gives us a little bit of understanding. And that was, this output here is based off of this down below. Now I want to go ahead and set this off. If we're dealing with identities in Oracle, it's a matter of that we just can insert a value with a specific value. It's not like we have to turn it off and then play around with it and turn it back on like we are doing in SQL Server. It works just a little bit different. If you don't provide the value, it's going to use that sequence that we looked at before. If you provide the value, then it's just going to insert that value. So it works, as I indicated, just a little bit differently. So this is the material on the insert, update, and delete and merge.